Okay, folks, welcome replay viewers. We're at the Grumman Memorial Park in Calverton, Long Island, New York. Right now we're about 65 miles east of New York City, Midtown Manhattan. And this particular airplane is the Grumman Navy F-14A Tomcat. We'll take a look around the Tomcat, and then we'll take a look around the A6E Intruder. Let's get a little close-up of the description here. This particular F-14A Tomcat is airplane number 331, rolled off the assembly line here at Calverton, New York. Let's go up here. Welcome, thank you for joining. This is the F-14A Tomcat, Grumman Navy F-14. We're at the Grumman Memorial Park in Calverton, Long Island, New York. Let me see if I can back off a little bit and get a better view of the airplane. In the meantime, I'll just pan around here and show you the surrounding area. And across the way is the Navy Grumman A6E Intruder. So we'll go over and visit that one in a minute. But in the meantime, yes, I've been in both of them. Not flying, but I worked on both of these airplanes in flight test. So I've been in the cockpit of these many, many times, both the A6 and the F-14. Alright, let me just get over here and we'll see whether we can get a head-on view of the Tomcat from underneath. Okay, let me turn the iPad this way. Based on U.S. Navy's aircraft carriers for many, many years. This one is two, pilot and the weapons system officer. They used to sit tandem. The pilot was in front and the WSO, or weapons system officer, was behind him. I'll get around, I'll give a more distant view and we'll be able to see the cockpit layout and everything. I just want to walk under the airplane right now. Let's see if we can pan up here. Okay. This particular airplane is configured as the model or a display airplane here. He's showing two extra fuel tanks underneath the left and the right engine inlet area. Those were expendable or jettisonable fuel tanks for extra range, in addition to the internal fuel that the airplane carried. Now let me walk around this way and we'll come up behind it. For anyone who's just joining now, I'm at Grumman Memorial Park in eastern Long Island, New York, about 65 miles east of New York City. And right now we're looking at the Navy Grumman F-14A Tomcat. If any of you are familiar with the movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise, this was the airplane that was the star of that movie. So let me go around to the rear of the airplane. take a walk over to the A6E Intruder. Okay. This is looking at the tail section of the airplane and why it was known as Tomcat two-tail. You see two vertical fins for control. You see the tail hook between the two engines on this display is shown as down, as if he were coming in for an aircraft carrier landing. That tail hook would catch a wire on the carrier deck, which would halt the airplane. So this is F-14A Tomcat. This particular one is number 331. Okay, I'm going to walk over to the A6 now. We'll take a quick look over there. Nice day out here, East Long Island. The temperature's about 50 right now. Very nice. Let's take one more look at Tom. Okay. These planes were built right here in Calverton at Grumman's Calverton plant. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate that. All right, the A6E honor roll for those who contributed to this display. Probably a lot of the people whose names are up there are people who worked on this airplane. This is the Grumman Navy A6E Intruder, attack airplane which was used extensively in the Vietnam War off the carriers. If anyone is familiar with the movie The Flight of the Intruder, I think it was made in the 1980s or early 1990s. This was the airplane that was the centerpiece of that movie. And if you haven't seen it, you could probably rent it from a library or, you know, something along those lines. Maybe even download the movie off the internet. It'd be worthwhile to see, just to see how they depicted this airplane in action. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. Well, some people will watch it on replay. My West Coast friends, California friends, they're all at work right now, so I don't expect them to be jumping on. All right, let me back up so we can get a better, wider view of this, and I'll give a description of this airplane. This is looking at the front section of it, the cockpit, where the pilot and the weapons system officer sat side by side. Pilot sat over here on the port side or the left side. Now you see that hooked device sticking up from the nose of the airplane? That was the aerial refueling probe. In other words, he would hook that up to the hose that would come down from a refueling tanker, and that's how they would refuel this airplane in flight, taking on fuel through that device, extend their range. This is shown in a flight configuration, but on the carrier decks these wings would fold up toward the center for storage to save space on the aircraft carrier hangar decks. Now let me walk around here. I'll take a look at the side of the airplane and then the... Thank you for joining. See, this one is configured with external fuel tanks, one under each wing and one under the center line of the airplane. So in other words, they carried extra external fuel for longer range missions. But usually those pylon stations, as they're called, they would have been loaded with bombs or air-to-ground rockets, things of that nature. So here's the tail of the airplane. Well, I'm not sure of the exact age of this one, but we'll go look at the placard about that. But these were built by Grumman right here in Calverton between 1960 and I believe the last one was 1993 or 1990, something like that. But we'll get that answer to you in a few minutes. Just stick with us because that tells us up front. Okay, so this is the Grumman Navy F-14, correction. Grumman Navy A6E Intruder. And this particular one, if we look at the emblem on the rudder here, rudder panel, it says, last of the intruders. Bureau number 164384. So that's telling me this was the last one that was deployed out on an aircraft carrier, CVW-17. I think this one came back here, let's see, 2016. Came back here about 8 years ago, something like that. We'll get that information for you. Now I'm looking up the center line of the airplane from the rear. Right, looking up at the rudder panel, which swings left and right. You can see the size of the heavy-duty landing gear for landing on aircraft carriers, taking the punishment that would deliver. And of course, in the background then, once again, you see the Navy Grumman F-14A Tomcat up on the stanchion. So let's go find that information out about the age of this airplane, when it was built and when it returned here to Calverton. I think that's on the sign up front. Okay, sure. Okay, let's get back and so people can read this, and I'll read it also to you. So it says a total of 693 all-weather A6s were built. First they built A6As and then 95 A6Es. First Intruder flew in 1960, and the last one was closed down and parked in 1997. So 37 years they flew. I forget exactly when the first deployment was with the Navy, but early 1960s, because it did do extensive work. The Navy used it in the Vietnam War. Okay, so there is our A6 Intruder. Let me back off over here. I can swing around to both airplanes. Here's our Grumman Navy F-14A Tomcat. Both of these airplanes were built right here in Calverton, Long Island, New York, at the Grumman plant here, which is no longer in business. Grumman was taken over by Northrop Corporation in 1994. And this facility out here in Calverton is now, it was turned back over to the town of Riverhead for a development center. Okay, folks, I hope everybody enjoyed this short tour here. So you can look at this on replay on the Periscope replays for 24 hours, but you can also catch it on the catch.me channel. And that will be up there for as long as I leave it up there. All right, take care now.